Hey guys, welcome to my Return of the Goddess of Time Part 2, Tales from the East, another Eden version 2.2.1. This video is going to be a bit long, since I'm going to not only just cover what was added into the game, but I've also included the manifestation fight guides like usual, and also the new Antiquity Garulea, another dungeon. So, without further ado, let's delve right in. So, what's new in this update? Well, we're going to get the continuation of the main story. They're going to add a couple more chapters. They've also added Kikyo and Nikeh Another Style, so that previous video that I made of the Let's Talk What's Coming in the 2.2 was correct. And they're adding a new system to cultivate a straw dummy. The new Antiquity Garulea, another dungeon, was added, and Laclair's Minstrel and Gariyu's Flame Lord manifestation weapons have also been added as well. So, the new story. You must have the Return of the Goddess of Time Part 1 completed. There will be 10 chapters total, chapters 56 to 66, and you will obtain 100 chronos for every chapter completion. And to start the quest, you can go to the inn in the interdimensional space-time rift. There'll be a few new farmable weapons here. Here I showcase you the stats and how to obtain them. For the materials here, you can get them from the Ever-Dead Tree ring from the horror in Hokishi Forest, and you can also get the Old Tanuki's pouch drops from the Rolling Old Tanuki horror in Taogana Mountain Trail. Here's also a snapshot of the new equipment in the Antiquity area. So you can see here, I've mapped out all of the materials with which monster that drops them, and I try to color code the areas on where to obtain them as well. So if any of these new armor equipments look very nice for you to upgrade, then go for it. Next, a brief going over, since I did go over them more extensively in the last video. So I'll send a link to the description of the last video below if you want a more in-depth. But Kikyo comes in a rarity of 4 to 5 stars. Her element is wind. She's a slash axe necklace user, and her type is light. Her Valor chant, until that day comes, will grant a wind type attack of all party members up by 35%, and wind type resistance of all enemies will be reduced by 25% for 1 turn. If you want to farm for her Leah Blitz tome, you can get it in Toto Dreamland Very Hard. Next, let's talk about Nikeh Another Style. She comes in only rarity of 5 star. She's a water element user, and she uses slash katana and ring. Her type is shadow, and her Valor chant, cause death with my sword, that is death. Power of and intelligence of all enemies will go down by 20% for 1 turn. You can obtain her Yasomagasuhi Treatsi in any very hard dungeon boss, or the ones that require 2 green tickets, such as the Garulea dungeon. It'll be a 0.1% per slot drop chance, or you could get it from a Nopal Weapon Shop Emporium up to 2 total. Next, let's just briefly go over the dummy cultivation system. So in this new update, they added the ability for you to run around, gather materials to cultivate your very own Strawboy. And this is just a very brief overview. I didn't go into too much detail, but essentially he's a free 5-star unit. He doesn't really excel at anything in particular that other dedicated units can do. However, the ability for him to be augmented to be any user type is really nice. And overall, I think he's mostly a meme unit that you can have him run around in your party to help carry manifestation weapons for you to level up. But if you find him cute, or if you want him to use him, go for it. I also provided a link to the Another Eden wiki page where it'll go more into details. And as the wiki gets updated with this new update, it'll probably be more complete as time goes on. Alright, let's talk about the Ancient Garulea dungeon. There's going to be 6 map locations, similar to the present day Garulea dungeon. you're going to have the Hokishi Forest, Taogana Mountain Trail, Karuchi Cove, Dragon God Swamp, Funeral Cavern, and Ship Graveyard. It's recommended for users to run Hokishi, Karuchi, and Taogana since they do drop the bone fragments that's really desirable, and they also progress in unlocking the another dungeon equipment. There are 3 possible boss encounters. You have the Sacred Beast, the Gonjiro, and the Dogu King, also known as the King Tsuchino Bunmei. Gariyu can also obtain his darkness from running this dungeon, so it is highly advisable to run him since he is pretty effective against most mobs and bosses in this dungeon. There's going to be new equipment and Grastas to obtain, and the clay statue is the equivalent to the Cat Emma if you've done the present day Garulea dungeon, and Zami is the equivalent to Nagshan, which is essentially a sort of safe zone if you do encounter it in your split path. And of course, like I said, you'll be collecting 20 fragments of Advanced, Forest, Mountain, and Whirlpool, and they will restore the mural paintings. While the Advanced one, I'll need to specify that it grants the Grasta unlock. And the priority should be whenever you see the unexplored area of the clay figurine to go there to collect Advanced figures. Next, in this next slide, I just showcase what the equipment and Grastas are like. You have a picture on the left here that showcases the unexplored area where you can obtain the clay figures, and from there you can unlock very powerful Grastas from either the man or the woman when you encounter them in Gadaro. So the armor in this dungeon, you can obtain it after collecting 20 pieces of each map, and they all have an activation effect of physical resistance up. Now for the spiral ring, the requirement is a level 60 unit. Defense will be provided by 150, magic defense will be 185. The top necklace will also be a level 60 requirement with a defense rating of 166, magic defense of 150. Jungle bangles will be level 60, defense 185, magic defense 160. And here I also display what you obtain by trading in the clay figures to the woman and to the man. Now, these Grasta effects are pretty worthwhile to get, and you can only get them once. The woman will give you a HP and durability increase on your units, and once you awaken it, you'll also gain a Master of Self-Healing where you will recover 50% of your HP. And as for the man, he will give you a Grasta, which will give you more mana points and increasement of speed by 10. And once you've awakened it, you will have the ability to buff up all of your party member units to be able to deal more damage, up to 30% with their specific weapon type. Alright, now let's go over the different map zones. Here I have Hokishi. On the map where there are stars, those are usually areas where you can find fragments to collect. The ghost enemy is weak to fire slash, hair demon's weak to only wind, the blue poison moth is weak to fire pierce, and the eternal dead tree horror is weak to fire and slash. On Taogana's mountain trail, you'll find the clay figurine enemy to be weak to wind and blunt. The tail spines are weak to splash and pierce. Yamagami is weak to fire, and the old Tanuki horror is weak to slash and pierce. Next we have the Karuchi Cove. The crystalline turtles are weak to water and wind. The platinum clay figurine is weak to blunt and earth. The water demon is weak to earth, and the purity Hoki, which is the horror of this area, is weak to water and wind. Next we have the Ryujin Swamp, which is going to be called the Dragon God Swamp. The Nishiki Colis is weak to earth and slash. Corpse Flower is weak to fire and slash. The Unryu is weak to magic, and the Dead Eating Flower, which is the horror of this map, is weak to fire and slash. Next we have the Funeral Cave. The Dogu Atsu are weak to wind and blunt. The black gold clay figurines are weak to wind and blunt. The wolf is just weak to magic. And the horror, the black steel demon statue, is weak to wind, and blunt as well. So in the Funeral Cavern, there's quite a bit of overlap in terms of enemy weakness. As for the ship graveyard, similar case as well. The Iron Ring enemy is weak to Earth, the Sailor Soldier is weak to Earth and Slash, the Ship Guardian is weak to Earth and Pierce, the Gazami unit is weak to Earth and Blunt, and the Coral Crab Horror is weak to Earth and Blunt. Next, let's break down the boss encounters. So here you have the Sacred Beast, nicknamed the Chicken. It's pretty much a play the matching opposite zone. Since the boss will deploy a wind zone on turn 1, you just have to coincide it with the opposite zone that it is weak to. If you are able to take out the head where the torso remains, it'll go into a runaway phase. And the weakness will be the same as the destroyed horn of the boss. Now, out of all 3 bosses, this is probably the easiest boss to do, or the quickest if you have the right team. All you really have to have are 2 good wind units and Gariyu, and you can probably kill it in 1 to 2 turns with another force activated afterwards. The next boss is the Big Gonjuru, aka Gary. He is weak to Earth while resists water, and the opener skill for this boss will debuff your intelligence on your team, so it's advisable to not have any mage units out in the party zone. And it's great if you have zone units, so you could set up the fight to not go past turn 5. Gonjuru changes resistance once it reaches to turn 5 though, so if you can't kill it by turn 5, the fight might take a little bit longer and a little bit more RNG based depending on what type of resistance it decides to take up. And the fight has a pretty nice background battle music if you're into that. Next, we have the final boss of the 3 called King Tsuchino Bunmei. This type of boss has 2 different things to attack as well. He has a shell that is weak to wind and blunt, while once you break the shell, a clay nucleus will appear which will be weak to magic and wind. This version of the boss, since you do fight it in story, will not regenerate the shell like the story will, and you must break the shell to reveal the nucleus as said above. But due to it not being able to be downed in another force rotation, since it does have an HP stopper in the fight, it's actually recommended to avoid this boss all around. Alright, let's go over the manifestation fights. Here we have Gariyu's Enhancements. Once you're able to obtain the Horn of Vashtal at +10, as you can see, his explosion skill gains the ability to increase the intelligence of all party members by 20% for 3 turns with a maximum stack of 3, and all staff equipped characters' damage will increase by 50% for 3 turns. So that's pretty nutty itself, and then his other skill, Inferno, will be enhanced with the ability to inflict stun and restore the user's HP, and it also increases the damage of the skill itself based on the maximum health points of the unit, Gariyu. Now we have the manifestation fight breakdown. It's just a 5-turn fight rotation. His opener is an AoE fire magic with a chance to stun and will recover HP depending on how many allies you have out. His turn 2, Explosion is a single fire magic ×2 attack that'll have accumulating intellect debuff that can stack up to 5 times. Turn 3, Hellflame will be a single fire magic damage attack that'll also grant a strength debuff on the target while poisoning them as well. Turn 4 is the same attack as turn 2, Explosion, and his final turn is a random attack, whether he uses Let Me Do the Rest or Burning Shield. If he does Let Me Do the Rest, he'll do an AoE fire resistance debuff on your party, or if he does the Burning Shield, he'll grant himself wind and physical resistance buff. As for the recommended party, if you're figuring out to run a fire team, obviously you'll need Gariyu since he's required for the fight. Akane Another Style is great since she's one of the best single target DPS right now in global. Iwan with Manifest, Lovely, Shion with Manifest, Renri Another Style, which is to be released as she's the queen of fire DPS later down the line, and Seti can work as well. If you do run a water team, it can be very easy if you have Yuna's another style, but it's generally recommended to have Hismena since she's staple. Shiny Original or her another style, but Shiny Original will be getting her manifestation weapon soon, which will make her really good. Nikeh another style, Laclair with manifest, Melina with manifest, Mighty with manifest, and even Sugary can work too. As for healer and auxiliary units, Yuna Original or another style, as mentioned earlier, Mana, Mario OG and another style, and Rosetta can work very well for this encounter. For this fight, Gariyu has no weaknesses and will be resisting wind and earth. Next, let's focus in on Laclair's enhancements for her manifest weapon. As shown below, those are the stats of her Dragon Slayer's bow, and it'll enhance her skill Dragon Hand, which will increase the power and speed of Laclair by 30% for 3 turns with a maximum stack up to 3 times. And her Dragon Music will be adding a Mega Poison, which is a ability that will ignore the resistance, and physical resistance target will go down by 25% for 3 turns. This enhancement will also make Laclair pretty good, so if you are a Laclair user or you really like her design, then I would also highly recommend getting her manifestation weapon so she can catch up with the power curve of the other units. For her fight itself, she has a 6-turn rotation. She will start off the fight by inflicting an AoE strength and physical resistance debuff to your entire team. On turn 2, Splash Arrow will just be a single target water physical attack. And then turn 3 will be one of her moves called Ryurin Kagura. It depends on the English translation. These are all gathered from the Japanese wiki site, so I apologize if the names are off. But this skill is a single physical with a physical resistance debuff and poison applied. Then for turn 4, Aiming Fraud will be an AoE water physical attack with a strength debuff. Turn 5 will be the same thing as turn 3, the Ryuin Kagura. And for turn 6, she'll use her Dragon Hunt, which is a single water attack that does it 3 times. And it'll also buff her strength and speed buff for herself. So it'd be a good idea to bring either mana or anyone that can cleanse buffs off of the target unit. Here are some recommended party members for this fight. If you're thinking of bringing an Earth team, Nagi another style is staple, Tiramisu once she comes out soon in Global, Serene with Manifest, Primaya is great, Myris another style when she comes out, Lokito another style as well, Algo another style as well, Tuva with her Manifest weapon, and Subami are all excellent choices for an Earth team. If you decide to bring a Water team for this fight, Laclair is going to be required for the fight. Hismena, staple unit, Shiny another style, Nikeh another style, Melina with Manifest, Mighty Original with his Manifest weapon or his another style can work too. And for support and auxiliary units, you can obviously bring Yuna's Original or another style, Mayunfa when she's released really soon in Global, Mana, Myris with her Manifest weapon, Bertrand, and Mario's Original and another style. For the Laclair fight, she will have no weakness and she is resistant to fire and wind. Anyways, that covers up for this update video, guys. I'm sorry it might have been a bit long, but there was a lot of materials to cover and I wanted to make sure that I provided you guys with as good and detailed enough video to help you guys out in your journey. With that said, this video did take a while to make, so I would definitely appreciate it if you guys give it a thumbs up. And if you aren't subscribed to my channel yet, think about subscribing for more future Another Eden content. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye now.